steps into it. Pass is caught. Diggs! Sideline! Touchdown! Unbelievable! Vikings win it!
Strap yourself in and get ready.
And here we go, here we go!
The leaders in fantasy football are incoming, giving you the ultimate insight to help you win your leagues and dominate your mates. You're now listening to the Insight NFL Show with your hosts, Guns and Maverick.
Welcome to the NFL. Let's go! Let's go! Go!
We're entering fantasy championships where we are in the absolute peak of the fantasy football season. It all comes down to this. Welcome to another week of the Insight NFL Show. A monster show here. We are looking back at week 16, even though week 16 is not finished. And we're also previewing week 17, the fantasy championship week. For many people, how many championships are you in, Maverick?
I've actually made it in 2 so far. So I'm waiting on a third tomorrow. Need Josh Jacobs to score, I think it was 18. So yeah, it's borderline. It's 50-50.
Yeah, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm looking at 5.
All
5.
right, dude.
I'm okay with it. Well, it's out of 14. That's not a great hit rate.
Hey, it's
Yeah.
better than nothing.
There is one hit rate though that I do want to talk about, and that's in the Dynasty of Insight. So I was playing young Mullen. Now, we should preface this. He has a record of 11-3 and was the number 1 seed this year. I scraped through to playoffs with 8-6. Now, I cast your mind back to the 2 minutes remaining in this game between the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bucky Irving needs either 2 rushing yards or a catch for -8 yards, and young Mullen beats Super Coach Guns, Nathan, who whatever you want to call me, moron, whatever. I lose, right? Sure enough, Rashad White takes the first. It has the first snap, I suppose, in the 2-minute drill, as Baker Mayfield's about to embark on a game-winning drive. Baker Mayfield evades some sacks, some tackles, I should say, rather than sacks. Throws the ball quite literally whilst he's being brought to the ground. Gets it to Rashad White, completes the pass. Rashad White has the catch, runs forward, and the ball gets knocked out and turned over. And Banakanda forever holds on by 0.12 of a point. The greatest victory in the history of mankind.
Yeah, it's one of those crazy stories. I mean, there's plenty of them. They just don't happen very often, I suppose. But yeah, one of those things.
It's very good. It's very. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Anyway, doesn't matter. I feel for him because 11-3, first place overall. You're generally expecting to make the championship, but it just never works out that way for some reason.
Yeah.
Always a curveball, and let's look at those curveballs this week. Let's should we look at Friday night? Well, Friday lunchtime. What stood out for you here?
It was actually the return of the Gus bus. That was probably the main standout for me. Didn't really think much of him coming into the game and add 2 touchdowns and look quite good with the ball. So that was one thing that really stood out to me. And outside of that, there wasn't really much else to it apart from the QBs just flicking the ball around and them actually scoring some decent fantasy points themselves. But the ball was just spread around everywhere in this game.
Yeah, it was definitely Gus Edwards who stole the show. 14 carries, 68 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nothing else really happened here. McConkey solid as always, but otherwise both the quarterbacks did pretty well. Now, in this Texans Chiefs game, again a similar deal, except 2 of the fantasy duds on the year, Tank Dell and Xavier Worthy, they turned it around quite dramatically, and both eclipsed 20 PPR points. Tank Dell, done for the year. dislocated knee. Um, you know, that'll be him, Red Rover. Uh, look, if you made it this far with Tate Dell, um, odds are you're probably not too reliant on him. Uh, and then meanwhile, Xavier Worthy, same deal. Like, if you have those two guys and you're reliant on those two guys, I don't think you made it to this point. Or if you did, you're probably doing fine without them.
Yeah, it's one of those things, and it's probably hard to say with fantasy duds. You don't mention your mate Isaiah Pacheco either. He's been horrendous, and pretty much nearly borderline droppable at this point too. So, yeah, I'm gonna fix this camera as well.
Yeah, no worries. Well, yeah. So smart. What's his name? Isaiah Pacheco. Like, uh, maybe he should have been shut down for the year, and they just backed Kareem Hunt in. Maybe, but hindsight's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Anyway, let's look at this next game here whilst Maverick fixes the camera. Uh, Derrick Henry, he had a vintage Derrick Henry game, 24 carries, 162 yards. Yeah, he certainly didn't hurt you if you had him in your team during the semi-final week, I suppose. Um, but at the same time, like, if he had a touchdown capped on top of that, Derrick Henry, yeah, you would have been laughing as an owner. But 20 is still a very good score. Um, what else? I think we've got him back, do we? Is that right?
Yeah, I'm back in action, sort of.
Sort of. Well, well, you've obviously had Zay Flowers for a fair bit of this season. Has
Yeah.
did his performance today impact you positively?
Look, 100 yards isn't really a positive. Well, it's positive, but he's 12 points. He rolled dice on 12 points in half PPR league. So, yeah, all in all, mate, that wasn't really too much of a real. Yeah, it's just you just roll a dice. It's not league changing. It's not matchup changing. It's just an average score, really. So, yeah, that's how I feel on Zay Flowers' season as a whole. To be honest with you.
He did eclipse 1,000 receiving yards this season, but like as we've talked about numerous times, just way too volatile for us. Now, in this Giants Falcons game, I mean, the main difference maker here was Bijan Robinson with 22 carries for 94 yards and 2 touchdowns. He certainly. Look, if you had him, I would say that you won more likely than not. But Penix played pretty well. Like the interception. I mean, I don't know if you saw it, but like, it's not an interception. No, not at all. Well, actually, it is. I saw a tweet saying it is because he trusted Kyle Pitts as a receiver. So maybe that is something he can learn from this scenario. Otherwise, pretty quiet game. Neighbours didn't really set the world alight. Yeah, not much else in this one, I didn't think.
Yeah, one to watch will be Drake London with that hammy injury. He did not return, I believe. So just watch that status for obviously coming into this week. If he was to miss, that's a massive, massive blow to the Falcons offense and any fantasy managers that still got him. But outside of Drake London, there's no real injury concerns. But yeah, all in all, mate, it's really the Bijan day, which we thought it would be with Penix starting at QB this week. I thought it was fine, but Bijan was a really big, big, big winner today.
He was, and next year I'm looking forward to seeing Bijan start the year hot rather than ease into it. I'm hoping for a consistently massive season from him next year, and if he does that, probably finishes overall RB1.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. Now, this Falcons Panthers game, I thought it was going to be a bit of a dud, but it was anything but, really. Both running backs went bonkers. Chuba Hubbard went 25 carries, 152 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then on the other side of things, James Conner, 15 carries, 117 yards, and a touchdown. And he missed a fair bit of time in this game. Um, Tell me, did you have either? And if you
No,
did, no, you didn't. Never
no,
mind.
I didn't have either of these guys in any league. But yeah, James Conner again had that knee injury. Not too sure where he's at with that knee injury. Did not return, I believe, so that's a bit of a concern. And a massive game for the Cardinals to drop too. This was not a game to drop, and Bryce Young looked quite good,
Mm.
especially on the ground too. That one massive game or one rushing touchdown that he had, it's like a 30 or 40-yard game, which was interesting because they thought the play was dead, but it wasn't really. So, but yeah, no, all in all, mate, it was an interesting game. Thielen was fine. And yeah, Chuba Hubbard obviously just massive with that game-winning touchdown as well. So, and yeah, he's been huge for them all year. So, mate, if you've got Chuba Hubbard late, you'd be laughing, I'd say.
Oh, definitely, and he's possibly the steal of the year in draft leagues. I would have
Yeah,
thought. Just it's a top 10 running back. It's delivered for you in the playoffs as well, and on a couple of occasions now. Wouldn't shock me to see him go big again next week. Now, in the Lions Bears game, there's a fair bit going on here. I think the first thing was Jameer Gibbs. He handled the backfield himself and did it pretty well to the tune of 25.4 PPR points. You obviously very high on Gibbs and had a few shares in him. Did he serve you well in your aspirations for championship glory?
he did. Yes, he's the 2 leagues that I've already made the final on. He was in those two squads, so he was huge. Look, they did miss a bit of Montgomery in this game. I thought there was a gap goal line carry where Jameer Gibbs had 3 attempts at it, eventually got it. But yeah, Montgomery would have had it probably in one. It was on the 1 yard line, so that's probably the difference between him and Monty at this stage. But yeah, Gibbs as an explosive running back and he had pretty much do it all. Tough matchup they've got next week, but look, I don't think it matters at the moment with Jimmy Gibbs.
Yeah, and he'll handle 25 carries himself, and he'll work his way up to 15 plus just on workload alone. Now, someone who went really big was Jameson Williams with 5 catches for 143 yards and a touchdown, as well as a 7 yard rush. But I wasn't expecting this from JMO, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, sole beneficiary of that 66 or 70-yard touchdown that he had too. So, yeah, I guess that's what he does. He blistering pace. Once he gets open, he's gone. So, but this Lions team is so fun to watch because generally they just leak points, but they can score higher than pretty much nearly every team in the comp. So if you've got them in fantasy, then you always seem to eat because they just provide.
Yeah, and they just find like Armin Ra, even 19 fantasy points. Sam Laporta had a good game as well. Um, Although I saw some throws from Jared Goff, I was like, gee, that's pretty crap. But like he can distribute really well 90% of the time, and that's all you need for fantasy, isn't it?
Yeah.
On the other side of things, Keenan Allen had a really big game. Uh, 9 catches, 141 yards, and a touchdown. I thought Caleb looked all right in this one, to be honest. I just think, the Lions are a really, really good team. I think that's all there is to it, to be honest.
Yeah, he had 334, passing yards and 2 touchdowns. So that's a pretty good day. But then again, everyone has a good day on the Lions at the moment, especially with their secondary. So it wasn't really a surprise for me that Caleb did flick the ball around. But scoring 17 points is probably the biggest surprise for me. All 3 receivers seemed like they went all right. DJ Moore, 7 for 68. Rome Dunze, 4 for 77. And then Keenan Allen, 9 for 141 and a touchdown. So I thought they're all pretty decent in this game.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Maverick, I reckon you might get a starting call up for the Cleveland Browns quarterback position soon. Because I know for sure you do a better job than Dorian Thompson Robinson, who's had multiple opportunities to start and keeps stinking it up every damn time.
Yeah, he stinks. He's an awful QB. And he had 2 picks today as well. So, they've gone out and benched Jameis for exactly that same problem. And Dorian Thompson-Robinson's doing exactly that. So, and look, this is probably not the week that you'd want a Jameis to get benched because it's such a juicy matchup against the Bengals, where, Njoku was fine in this one, but if you had Elijah Moore or Jerry Jeudy who've had a very, very healthy last 6 weeks of fantasy football, really, really busted out this week due to the poor QB play. So that's such a shame for guys who, a few years ago in dynasty leagues were high commodities and have really started to bounce back this year.
Yeah, and just on DTR, his touchdown to interception record in the league now is at 1 touchdown to 9 interceptions. I don't know how he is on a roster.
He won't be after this year.
I don't. I think he can go to the XFL probably. Playing Shanghai. Now, Jerome Ford, he really did step up in the absence of Nick Chubb. Yes, he had a 68-yard rush in that, but 11 carries, 92 yards, and a touchdown. As well as 5 catches for 39 yards. He just had a really solid game, and 24 PPR points. If you started him in your flex spot, you would have been laughing with that performance.
But would have been a ballsy start, but if he started him, it paid off. I thought he was quite good. They leaned on him, and he delivered, really. I thought he looked really good. Didn't go down on first contact, broke tackles. I thought that was a real positive outing for him, and maybe something to build on for 2025 onwards.
Yeah. And then as you mentioned, Njoku, Ford, pretty much the only 2 guys that actually contributed positively today. On the other side of things, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, they both scored, both went really big. Even Andre Ishavash, to an extent, had a pretty solid game. Not that anyone would be starting him at this point in the season, but Chase, Higgins are very interested to see who stays and who goes.
Look, it'll be Chase that stays and T. Higgins that goes. I think that's pretty simple for me. But there was one highlight in this game that really sort of captured my eyes, and that was the Joe Burrow falling down to the ground, passing it in midair to T. Higgins. That was just one of the absolute amazing TDs you'll ever see. I reckon that the degree of difficulty of that throw is just insanity. Look, was he borderline touching the ground? Yeah, he was. It was, frame by frame, it was so close, but God, it was impressive.
It was really good, and if it wasn't for the fact that the Bengals had a crappy record, he'd be the MVP, I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be very close to it.
Yeah. Next game, we've got the Colts and the Titans. Now, this was a very high-scoring game, a lot higher scoring than what we thought it would be, particularly at around the third quarter mark. Tony Pollard got out overshadowed, I will say, by Ty Spears yet again in a negative game script. What does this mean for next year? Probably not going near Pollard, to be honest, but I don't know if I'd go near Spears.
Look, I think it's a bit harsh on Pollard. He has been carrying that foot injury and hasn't been practicing for the last 6-7 weeks at least. Ever since the end of October, he's been DMPing all pretty much every session nearly, if not limited. So I think that's a massive factor in terms of, performance. And it's impressive they've been able to play through it too. But yeah, look, Tajay Spears was okay, but he had 10 carries, 27 yards. I don't think that's 2 touchdowns, obviously, but I want to see those carries, those goal line carries, going to Tony Pollard too, please. But yeah, it was interesting, very interesting. But this whole game was interesting. I mean, the Colts were up early, had a massive, massive lead. It was 30, I think it was actually 38-7 at one point. And then the Titans actually scored the next 23 points, which was insanity. And you actually thought in the end that the Colts might lose the game. But JT huge. Anthony Richardson was okay. I liked him better with the play action. Looked a lot better, a lot more comfortable. But it does help when Jonathan Taylor's that hot too.
Oh yeah, and in a very run-heavy offense, like from my count here, you've got 9 carries from Richardson, 29 from Jonathan Taylor, 8 from Sermon, and 4 from Goodson. Off my count, that's 50 rushing attempts from those 4 alone today. And that was really the theme of their offense. 11 passing attempts. So massively weighted towards the ground game for the Colts. But, that probably leans into Richardson's style of play, to be honest. Having a
It
tandem backfield with JT.
it does, and as I said, the play action really worked in this game. It really worked well, especially some of the misdirections as well with the play action was awesome. I thought, but yeah, I think passing 11 times for Richardson probably shows where he's at with his passing. They obviously wanted to limit him passing and see what they can do on the ground, and it worked in this scenario, but it just won't be able to work on a week-to-week basis. So let's see what he can do next week, mate. But look, it's positive since he's been benched. I think he's come out and he's played okay.
He has played okay, and he's got New York. He's got the Giants next week. I'm excited for that one. That could be quite a score on the ground. Probably just copy and paste the script that they did today. To be honest, uh, very excited for that. Rams and the Jets. I mean, we talked about Jonathan Taylor enough, didn't we? He's all. Oh no, we didn't talk about Jonathan Taylor enough because he probably has earned this.
He's a bad man. He's a
Definitely the player of the week, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, you can't even dispute that.
No, just no one really came close to having the impact he had. Like I, I'm 12. I was 12-2 in a dynasty league, where this is probably the last year of fantasy relevance, or not fantasy relevance of competing for the championship that I had left. Um, well, who comes along? A 7-17 containing Jonathan Taylor. And as we I think spoke about earlier on air or off air, I can't quite remember, but when Anthony Richardson got called down at the half-yard line, which in my opinion he was across the plane, and then that went from Anthony Richardson touchdown to a Jonathan Taylor touchdown. Well, I was pretty miffed. Now, admittedly, I lost healthy in the end, so who cares? But I was dudded.
Yeah, yeah, it was borderline. It was very borderline.
The Rams and the Jets. Now, again, another game we can probably be a bit quick through. Devontae Adams had a pretty good game in the champions in the not champions semi-final. Sorry, 7 catches, 68 yards, and a touchdown. I thought it's a great game actually in this situation, particularly when one touchdown for the day. He got it. Otherwise, it was a very dry day for this offense.
It was, yeah. It really sums up the whole Jets season, doesn't it? Just, just dry. Brees Hall, yuck. Garrett Wilson, yuck. Aaron Rodgers, okay. But yeah, Devonta Adams was the only guy that was really stepping up from this offense and has been for the last month, might I add. He's been really good, has that connection back with A-Rod. Yeah, well, let's see what they do for next year. But if they stick around, at least they've got those two. Hopefully, it's going to be there. So watch this space with that. But on the other side of the pill, mate, it was an interesting game for them too, for the Rams, because they didn't really light it up at all. Really, it was just Kyron Williams. I thought was really, really good. Outside of Kyron Williams, it was just nothing.
Yeah. No, Nakua had an okay game. He didn't hurt you, but he didn't win you your week, that's for sure. I don't think there's much more on that one for me, on my end.
Nah, I've got nothing on that one.
Well, the Eagles and the Commanders, on paper, I thought, Philly should get this. And it was looking like they were going to until what I could only really describe as a very late comeback from the Washington Commanders, scoring 22 points in the last quarter. Uh, Off the back of a Jaden Daniels masterclass late in the piece. 24 of 39, 258, 5 touchdowns. He's having a stellar season. Is he rookie of the year? Offensive rookie of the year?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
There's a few candidates, but he's the one that constantly impresses me.
Yeah, probably. Mate, 5 touchdowns today. Look, if Hurts didn't get injured, I don't think this scoreline would have happened. I think at the time the Eagles were in full command of the Commanders at that point, and then that just changed the game. So yeah, that was interesting. But look, mate, I was really surprised that Zacchaeus came out and scored 2 touchdowns. The corpse of Jamison Crowder, who I thought was retired or something like that, but he came out with 2 touchdowns and the game-winning touchdown. And McLaurin, who was, I suppose he was fine for what he was, but 5 catches for 60 yards. Lucky he had that touchdown, but I just would have preferred more output out of McLaurin because, mate, I don't know if you saw him score that touchdown, and I think it was late in the first half. He was like, "Feed me the fucking ball, feed me the fucking ball." He was going off, and I think he caught one pass after that.
It's always the way.
Yeah.
Now Saquon, he had 2 rushing touchdowns and 100 rushing yards after the first quarter, and then had 50 rushing yards the rest of the game. So they really shut him down after one really bad quarter, but that's all it needed. 27 points. Spectacular day on the ground. You take that. That's going to really go a long way in helping you win.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. Again, fantastic, really, Saquon Barkley. So Jalen Hurts got injured pretty much in this game pretty early, but they were still in control. Kenny Pickett comes in, and AJ Brown completely changed his route running from the old vertical running down the field to inside slant work. So that was an interesting change for AJ Brown. We haven't really seen that from AJ Brown since his Titans days, really. So that was a good change up for him, and looked more involved. And look, Kenny Pickett was okay. I don't think I would be too impressed, but AJ Brown was massive, though. I thought he gave Kenny Pickett the enough, let's say, route running and elite route running that he does, enough time for Kenny Pickett to actually fire one down the line to him.
Yeah, I was very impressed by AJ Brown. Have him in quite a lot of leagues, so I was happy that he really went off today. Vikings Seahawks, mate. This was a heartbreaking game. We looked close with probably 7 or 8 minutes to go. It looked like we were going to do it. Then Justin Jefferson, does Justin Jefferson things, scores a touchdown right when you least expect it. And then Geno Smith, the anti-clutch, came back out again, threw a pick, game over, probably season over. But who cares about that? Justin Jefferson, 36.4 fantasy points, 144 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. So I think that's comfortably his biggest game of the season. I could be wrong. No, it definitely is. And what a time to turn up.
Yeah, that touchdown to put him in front, I suppose, was just big time, really, wasn't it? That was just get him the ball because he's that damn good. But all in all, mate, I thought Sam Darnold was very solid. Did he support more than one player in this game? Probably not. But 5 for 35 and a touchdown for Addison, I could probably call that borderline considering that touchdown. But that's probably been Sam Darnold's biggest fault in fantasy football this year, is he just hasn't been able to service more than one player in a given week. So, let's say more than 20% of the time with that stacked offense. So, but
Yeah.
look, Sam Darnold's been elite. So,
Yeah, and in a PPR league, Kenneth Walker would have done all right for you. If it's a standard league or even a half PPR, he's definitely not delivered for you. Jackson Smith and Jigba however, continue to deliver. 8 catches, 95 yards, and a touchdown. 100 total yards. That we've commented on this before, but he's definitely the wide receiver one there. What a game from him.
It was. But again, let's go back to Kenny Walker. I just monitor his status as well. He did turn his ankle at some point in that last quarter on that goal line carry. Did not return. It looked pretty bad, to be honest. So let's see how he goes and if he can get up for next week, because Charbonnet just didn't get used at all today. So that was interesting.
Yeah, they went with a lot of Kenny McIntosh. That might have just been pass protection, potentially. I'm not really sure how to read into that, to be honest.
Yeah, it was odd. Very odd. I
Yeah.
didn't think I liked that.
He looked fine, but it's just I was expecting to see a lot more Charbonnet when Walker went down. Patriots Bills. Now, it's a bit harsh to do this, but I think Josh Allen's earned this.
This man was a bona fide scrub. He can't play. No disrespect whatsoever, but I'm sorry to tell everybody the truth.
And that's not really because the score of 12 is bad, but you can't put out 12 after putting out 51 and 41 the 2 weeks prior. You can't not turn up in the biggest game of the year, barring the championship.
Yeah, well, he came in with a projection of 24, so the projection was quite high, and he halved it. So look, against the defense who isn't really that good, have sort of been leaking points all year. So that's a bit of a disappointment for for Josh Allen. But James Cook was massive in this one. 25 PPR points, I think it was, or 26 PPR points, top of my head. He was huge and has been for the remainder has been for the whole year, really. And looks like he's prime Dalvin Cook, isn't he?
Well, there's shades of it. There's definitely shades of Dalvin Cook. I reckon next year, if Baltimore decide to give him a proper package of 20, 25 carries a game, he might just be copy and paste to his brother, to be honest. Kayshawn Booty, or however I meant to say his name, whatever, he had an absurdly big game considering the type of player he is. 5 catches, 95 yards, and a score. I wasn't expecting him to. Well, I didn't even know he was playing. So there's that, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw it, but it was an absolute dime from Drake May in that first quarter. I mean, absolute dime. So can we get this guy a receiver immediately? Because I want to see what this guy can do with a half decent receiving core there. But yeah, no, I think Boutte has actually been all right this year. I think he's probably earned a roster spot as maybe like a number 3, but moving forward. But that's still a positive for a guy who didn't get played at all last year.
Yeah, and he's had a lot of off-field rubbish that he's put on himself as well, but he's back. Now, San Francisco, Miami, Isaac Guerendo got ruled out. Patrick Taylor time, we all thought. Well,
Yuck.
no. No, it's not Patrick Taylor time. Just because he's they draw a line somewhere apparently, and the line is at Patrick Taylor. As soon as he becomes your RB1, they're going to stop running the football, and that's what happened here. 8 carries, 24 yards. Easily the worst waiver purchase of the year for me. He just didn't. It wasn't involved at all, and people dropped a lot of money on him.
Yeah, he just didn't look apart, did he? He often went down on first contact again. I think we've probably got to the point now of the running backs at San Fran. We're now 4 in, and that's probably where it stops. So it's good to know that not anyone can jump into the Niners offense and decide to rush for 85 plus yards and have multiple touchdowns. So I feel just a little bit better. But yeah, it was disgusting.
Yeah, it was not good at all because it forced Brock Purdy to throw the ball, and he was okay. But they were still lacking something on offense, and As soon as you would have thought that when Debo Samuel fired up for 25 fantasy points, that was the missing ingredient in this offense. Well, no, the missing ingredient went missing, and that was Jawan Jennings with 4 catches for 50 yards. He didn't really have a profound impact on this game like he had been for certain parts of this season, but Debo Samuel, George Kittle, above 20 points in PPR, not too bad from them. Pretty good, actually.
Yeah, it was. I agree on Juwan Jennings, mate. It was disappointing. It was a tough matchup, but he's had a healthy target share. He had 6 targets in this game, I think it was. So 5 or 6 from memory. So yeah, like you want to see be seeing 8 to 9 to 10 targets, how he's been seeing the last month or so, and he didn't get that. So that's been disappointing. But yeah, Debo, welcome back. I'm not sure, maybe, but a bit of work on the ground and through the air was better is probably the word to use than what he's been showing in the past.
Yeah, and on the flip side of things, Devon Achane went bonkers. 17 carries, 120 yards, a touchdown, 6 catches for 70 yards. Again, if it wasn't for Saquon having a legendary season, he'd be the RB1 for fantasy, I feel. Just so involved week in, week out.
He did get lucky with that 50-yard touchdown at the end. It was a bit of junk time. But yeah, all in all, he's been fantastic for the year. Tyreek Hill, 3 catches for 29 yards and a touchdown. Did have a couple of drops in this game, had one in the end zone too, which had a very, very slight deflection, but he still dropped it. Prime Tyreek Hill would have snagged that and then done a 360 in the end zone or something like that, or a backflip or something ridiculous. But no, he's becoming quite washed.
Yeah, I think we're probably getting closer to the end of Tyreek Hill than the beginning, that's for sure. I think we can be quick in this Jags Raiders game. One player to talk about that's fantasy relevant here. Oh no, there's two. Sorry, there's two. Brian Thomas, 9 catches, 132 yards, and a touchdown. Monster game for him, right when you needed it. Yeah, what a day out.
Massive, 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 and has been especially for the fantasy playoffs so far, he's been massive. But for a whole entire year, he's been huge. So, look, I think it's positive on Mac Jones' end as well. I think he's shown enough that maybe somewhere he could start next year if very desperate need. If not, he could be a very top backup in the league, which is positive to where when he came in and started it to where he's at now. I think he showed some good progression.
Yeah, I could think of a couple of teams where he'd be a pretty handy backup, or he could, maybe he's a good mentor for a rookie. There's a few, maybe not mentor, but a good stopgap between blooding a
A
rookie
good
straight
bridge.
away. Yeah. In fact, I could see him potentially on someone like New York, for example. If they don't keep Drew Lock on, I think it's viable to start Mac Jones there because he probably could. He's shown he can support Brian Thomas, so there's no reason he can't support Malik Neighbors, and maybe that gives time for. I suppose it would be Shador Sanders or Cam Ward to sit.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. I hate throwing QBs in the firing line early, but hey, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But in recent times anyway, it hasn't worked to a higher degree. So don't mind the shout.
I'm not sure that. I think Shador might force his way into a starting role just because his last name's Sanders. But let's say it's Cam Ward because that's what it's looking like. That would work out quite well for them, I feel. Now Brock Bowers, I mean, he had a great game. 11 catches for 99 yards. He's safe as houses as always. Amazing rookie tight end season. I dare say that it's been more. It's been. I can't. Here, I'll get my words out eventually. Has it been better than Sam Laporta? Sam Laporta's rookie season.
It's been a lot better. in my opinion. It's not even a question at this point. So, but I will mention, I think next week we might see the Amir Abdullah show over Madison. Didn't outcarry him in this one, but looked a lot better. Madison at 2.2 yards per carry versus Abdullah at 5.4 yards per carry. A possible flex option for next week, I reckon, because he's got passing work, he's got rushing work, and he scores. He has scored touchdowns as well. So, yeah, one to watch. Possible. It's a ballsy play.
It would be a ballsy play to pick Amir Abdullah or the ghost of Amir Abdullah if he was ever a thing, because it's just a cesspit, that running back position at the Raiders. At the Raiders, yeah. So Sam Laporta scored, let me see, 239.3 fantasy points in his season. Brock Bowers, he hasn't missed a game this year, has he, Brock? Oh, let me have a look.
No.
No, he hasn't missed a game. Okay. Well, he will have just surpassed Sam Laporta's season total last year in this game. So he has officially had the greatest rookie tight end season in fantasy history. There you go. Now, let's move on to the final game that's been played, and that is the Buccaneers and the Cowboys. I gave you a quick preview off the top of what the last 2 minutes of that game looked like, but Bucky Irving, 16 carries, 68 yards, touchdown, and a few catches for 20 odd yards. Again, not a game breaking performance, but not one that hurt you, that's for sure.
No, I think he was fine. I think he scored 18 PPR points in the end. So, yep, mate, really, really solid. Mike Evans didn't have a catch in the second half. So that was disappointing. I thought it was a really positive matchup coming into this one. Bland is not really a lockdown defender, and he just couldn't do it. So Bland did a good job in the end, and Mike Evans, pretty much didn't give you a hell of a lot. So, but outside of that, mate, I didn't like much else there. Jalen McMillan was okay. Jalen McMillan, should I say, was okay. But all in all, I thought the Bucks are pretty turds in this game.
Yes, and we're now under serious threat of Mike Evans not reaching 1,000 yards this year. He's at 818 receiving yards with 2 games to go. That means essentially he needs 188 to get there. So 182 to get there. Sorry,
He could do that in one game.
He could do it in one game, but with the way he's been going this year, I'm not sure that he will. But
yeah,
who knows? CeeDee Lamb, he had a pretty solid game, 7 catches, 100 yards. Jalen Tolbert had a score in the red zone, in the end zone even. Rico Dowdle, probably a fairly big disappointment considering how much he would have built your trust up over the last month, only to have it pulled out from under the rug at the tune of 1.7 yards per carry.
Yeah, pretty bad. And saw very minimal passing work as well to make up for his lack of rushing. So, really bad. I still don't think the adults are starting running back next year. I truly believe that they'll just draft one. He maybe for a change of pace, but no, CeeDee Lamb was good in that first half. Didn't do much really in the second half, which was a bit disappointing. But Cooper Rush was fine, and the Cowboys snuck it home. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
It's a good question because it probably is sitting right in the middle of the pack, regardless of how that game goes. Like, it's probably indifferent, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I'm a bit torn, but they've been pretty good for the last month, to be fair. But yeah, I would have preferred a better draft pick.
Fair enough. Well, let's dive in some uncharted territory and preview Week 17 without knowing how 2 of the teams went the week before. So obviously, Week 17, it starts this Thursday at 5 a.m. So Boxing Day, 5 a.m. Straight round starts with their Christmas games. So you've got Chiefs Steelers, and Ravens Texans. They're the first two games. Um, Chiefs Steelers, in terms of fantasy relevance, there's only one topic that really stands out to me in this, and that is, do you start Kareem Hunt? Well, yeah, is Kareem
No,
Hunt startable?
no, I don't really like anyone in this game apart from Kelsey, and maybe Mahomes, I suppose. Um, like if Pickens plays, it's probably not great matchup wise, and Russ is all in all, mate. There's only really two options that I like in this game. Maybe Najee, you can make maybe a case of Najee, but yeah, I think that's where I stand.
Yeah. Um, then Ravens Texans. I mean, I only like the Ravens side of things. The Texans are starting to fall in on themselves a little bit, I feel.
And especially
Stroud,
now with no
no Tank
Especially now
Dell.
with Tank Dell, yeah, it's going to make it a bit more difficult for old mate Nico Collins. So
Yeah.
Stroud struggled. It's going to be a tough game, but secondary at the Ravens has been pretty bad. So I do agree
Yeah.
with you, mate. I think it's all Ravens for me.
Yeah. Lamar, Henry. Heck, I'd be torn on starting Flowers, but I'd probably do it. In this game, I
If
think
he's
morale's
playing,
pretty low.
he's injured.
Oh, is he injured? Oh, jeez. Okay.
I mean, he should be fine, but yeah.
Yeah. Um, Now, prime time Friday, 27th, 12:15. I reckon there's a Jackson Smith and Jigba monster championship winning game on here. Chicago, this is screaming to be a monster game for him.
Yeah, you'd hope so. You'd hope so. You just keep on rolling with the with what he's got going at the moment because he's breaking out big time. So bit of a tougher matchup, but the Bears' defense don't really scare me too much. But yeah, no, JSN pretty much will be safe. You'd imagine at this point.
Yeah, yeah. I'm banking. If I had him, I'd be banking on him to uh, bring me a chip. To be honest, in this matchup, I think it's a golden matchup. Now, on the other side of things, I'm not sure what to make of the Bears against this Seahawks defense because, like, it could be good, like, as in the defense could be good, in which case you get nothing from the three wideouts, or it could play a similar way to what it did today, and someone like DJ Morse emerges and has a monster game.
Well, it looks like it's Keenan Allen at the moment that's having those monster games. So maybe you just keep rolling with Keenan Allen at this point, and DJ Moore. He's only really getting like 12 points a game. So again, I've always thought 12 points a game is a bit of a roll of dice situation. So yep, probably wouldn't play him.
There you go. Heard it here first. Now, Chargers Patriots. Not much in this one. Lad McConkey, we're pretty certain he's a smash start. Uh, soft defense. Quarterbacks be quarterbacks. Nothing else standing out for you in this?
I think there's a word where Gus Edwards can actually have a good game too. I don't mind the matchup. And he's probably going to see some more goal line carries in this game too. You'd imagine the should be able to move the ball around. And his last sort of month or so, he's had last few weeks actually, he's had 3 rushing touchdowns. So touchdown dependent, sure, but I think he'll be able to break one in.
Yeah. Let's see. Next game we've got here, the Broncos and the Bengals. Now, first of all, Cortland Sutton, I think he will have a pretty big game. My only thing is that I don't think many managers will have Cortland Sutton and be in the championship.
I'm one of them that does.
There you go. Well, start him for sure.
Yeah.
There you go. I mean, and then on the flip side of things, you're probably in the fantasy championship if you have Jamar Chase, because he has just been consistently elite this year, and I expect that trend to continue in this one. T Higgins probably has a good matchup as well. Chase Brown's always going to be, when you're a bell cow back like he is, you're always going to have good games regardless of who you're playing. Um, Now, the Cardinals and the Rams, run me through what stands out for you in this one.
There's probably not a hell of a lot apart from Cook and Nakua, really, in Kyron Williams. I mean, Cooper Cup at the moment has been hard to trust. The last two games have been pretty off, but yeah, I think Nakua's in for a big game, and so is Kyron. Outside of that, you can't really trust Marvin Harrison at the moment. You know, old mate McBride should be okay, but had enough game this week. But yeah, outside of that, mate, I don't really like anything else. James
No.
Conner might be questionable going into it, so he's one to watch. But yeah,
Yeah, because you got Trey Benson, who's probably close to shut down for the year now. Now that they're out of playoffs. So if James Conner's also shut down, if you're a Kyler manager and you've made it there, I would say he's probably having double-digit carries. But because as if you're giving Michael Carter 15 to 20 carries, you're not.
or Debbie does Dallas.
No, no,
DJ Dallas.
he's hopeless. He's seriously
Mhm.
hopeless. The Jets and the Bills. I think this is one of the games where you'd start everyone on offense for me. I'm starting Wilson. I'm starting Adams. I'm starting Hall, Rogers, Cook, Allen, Shakir. That's probably it though. I maybe Kincaid. Yeah, I'd start Kincaid in this.
I don't disagree, mate. I'll keep that really simple for you. I do not disagree.
Yeah, perfect. Well, we can get going then. What's this? The Titans and the Jags. Jeez, okay, we can be quick here. Pollard start? No, probably not.
Only if you have to.
Yeah, the only guy worth starting this one is Brian Thomas. Yeah, I think is that mutually agreed upon?
Yeah, I'm probably a bit more 60-40 on Pollard just because of the matchup. But
Yeah.
he has been training, so.
Um, Packers Vikings. Now, this is a great in division game, and I mean, obviously, you've got a weakish secondary at the Vikings, and I suppose a weakish secondary at the Packers as well. But the ground game, not a big fan of either. But Jacobs is very high class, so maybe he's worth a
Yeah,
shot.
looking forward to seeing what Jacobs can do against this run D because he's been spectacular for majority of the year. So this is going to be the real challenge for them. It's a big game. Whoever loses might go to the fifth seed. So there's a lot of stakes in this one.
Yeah. What have we got here? I don't know what else we've got here. I mean, the passing offenses: Jefferson, Addison starts. Dobbs. Is it no one from Green Bay?
It's borderline.
Yeah, it's Dobbs, if anyone, right? Or maybe Reed.
Tucker Craft.
Tucker Craft. There you go. Tucker Craft's the guy you start. Right, that makes that easy. Raiders Saints. Now, I think we're going to assume that Kamara is just being shut down for the year. Um, and we don't know yet how Kendre Miller's gone tomorrow and what that backfield looks like. So maybe we'll put something out on social media commenting on that post that game. If, Kendre has a big game, is definitely worth starting or whatever. But he comes up against the Las Vegas Raiders, a pretty crappy team. They're looking to get themselves into a good pick, or are they? Because they won a game today that they shouldn't have won. But in terms of starts, it's Brock Bowers. It's probably Jacoby Myers against this defense, and that might be it for the whole game.
Yep, I agree. I'm a
Yeah.
bit bullish on Abdullah, but I like the matchup. I like his usage, but I want to see more of it. But a desperate play.
Yeah. Colts Giants. I can probably rattle this one off in 10 seconds. Start Richardson, start Taylor, probably start Downs, start Tracy, start Neighbours. That's it.
Yep. So all fancy relevant players.
Yeah, all the fantasy relevant players you start. Everyone else can just sit their bums on the bench. Even Wanda Robinson if you're super desperate, but I doubt you will be in the
No
championship.
doubt it.
Carolina and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Um, I'll give my voice a rest. What's to your liking in this one?
I could see a Mark Evans 180-yard game to hit the 1,000 yards. I could see it. This is a good matchup for the Bucks here. So I do like Mike Evans. I do like Bucky Irving. I don't mind Rashad White if you needed to. I think the Panthers defense is pretty crap, so don't mind all them. And then on the other side of things, the Bucks defense isn't that good. So if you need to play Thielen, that's okay. If you need to play Bryce Young, I bet you would. That's okay-ish. And that's pretty much it from the Panthers and the Bucks.
Yeah. Now the Dolphins and the Browns. I'm starting Jerome Forward and David Njoku only on the Browns. They're the ones I'd consider starting. There you go. The only ones I'd consider starting unless we get a quarterback change again and Winston enters the lineup, in which case that inverts to Jerry Judy, Elijah Moore only. And probably still Njoku, to be honest.
And Joker is probably the only option that you can safely say, well, doesn't matter who's a QB, he's the safe option. So, I agree on that. And mate, Tyreek Hill, you probably start him. If you're this far, you probably start him. Again, the Browns' defense is crap, and they give away a lot of explosive plays. So maybe Tyreek Hill can get to the end of one. But yeah, A-Chain obviously, Tua's fine. Johnny Smith's probably fine, and Waddle probably doesn't play and can't trust him anyway.
Yeah. Cowboys Eagles. With this one, I was sort of leaning towards pretty much starting the entirety of the Philly offense, but that changes dramatically if Hurts misses game time.
It does.
I'd only start. Oh, I say only. I'd start Saquon Barkley and AJ Brown. I don't really want to start Devonta Smith in that situation. So around the quarterback situation only really affects Devonta.
Agreed. It would. I think that's really simple for me. But for the Cowboys, it's a tough matchup on the ground for Dowdle, and it's tough for CD as well. So, look, he'd probably play CD at this point throughout the season, but it's a hard matchup, and I can see him coming out with like 10 to 12 points. And again, I like to roll the dice on those points. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think there's much more I want to add into this one, to be honest. I don't think there's much that's standing out to me. The Falcons and the Commanders. Now, in this one, it's not an amazing defense that the Commanders have. So, Bajan Robinson, Drake London, if fit, and Darnell Mooney for me. I'm putting those guys in. I'm not even going to talk about Kyle Pitts because if you rostered Kyle Pitts this year, you're not in the fantasy championship, mate. You're not there. Yeah. Actually, I will ask this: if for some reason, you've been decimated and you've got to pick between like Mac Jones and Michael Penix for your QB to win you a fantasy championship. Just as a pure hypothetical, random question. I don't have that experience, but I might if some things go wrong. Would you be doing that?
Probably not, unless you have to start him at your QB spot and not your super flex spot. But if you had to pick one, I'd probably roll with Mac Jones. No, I'd probably roll with Penix, actually. I think Penix got the better matchup and probably the better offense and probably the better ability.
I was going to say, I think he's just a better player.
Yeah.
And in a better situation. But then again, he doesn't have Brian Thomas balling out the way that he is. On the Commanders side of things, Terry McLaurin, Brian Robinson, Jaden Daniels, they're the key guys, aren't they?
Yeah, McLaurin's going to go massive in this game. This is a big, big game for him. And I think he's going to absolutely tear him apart.
Yeah, agreed. And this is the final game. Lions Niners. Now, if it's coming down to this, you've got Isaac Garendo. He's there to win you a fantasy championship. He's playing. Are you starting him?
No.
No. Okay. If
But
so, and this is a very on the spot question, where would you turn to?
well, it depends on your running back situation, obviously. But I don't think I don't know if he'll play or not. But it's a tough matchup against the Lions' run defense. Their secondary is pretty average, but their run defense is good. So that's just where I look at it. But mate, this is New Year's Eve. This game, 12:15 New Year's Eve. A lot of fantasy relevant players in this game, so this could. Win or lose matchups really this game. So yeah, I think on the line side of things, it's pretty much start everyone. I'd probably roll the dice with Jameson Williams in the flex position if you need to. And yeah, I wouldn't start anyone at San Fran's running back situation, but Purdy should be all right. Juwan Jennings should be okay. Should. And then you got Kittle, obviously.
And there's one man which is going to be our final question for the night. Can you trust Debo in your championship?
I don't think you can trust him in the championship, but again, it's a good matchup for him. So if you wanted to, it's interesting.
It's there.
I can't trust him, but
You'd start him though?
I don't think I would, but the matchup is there.
All righty. Well, there's a bombshell to end. Well, we'll be there at what? New Year's Day, I suppose, to recap.
Yeah, possibly. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll have to
sometime around there, though.
Off air.
Yeah. We won't do a full-on meeting like we did last time. But again, thank you for watching throughout the year. Tonight, probably not out, probably a bit rushed, but you've got all your information. It's all there. I think we broke it down with less dribble than usual, but I think they like the dribble, the listeners.
Maybe.
But no, thank you for watching. Thanks for the support, and we will be back to recap your fantasy championships, our fantasy championships, or lack thereof, and probably recap the year again at some point as well. So cheers for watching, and we will catch you next time.